Hello everyone! Well, it's that time again, and I'm looking at the games I finished in September, though technically one of them I did finish on October the 1st. But before that, I need to say that the intro music here is from Bensound, which is www.bensound.com. The first game this month is the Darkside Detective. So, in September I started Yakuza 0, and as it's a long game that's pretty involved, I only streamed it when I thought I could stream for around 5 hours. One day I was short in time, but still wanted to stream something. I had a gander online for a short game, and this was one. Luckily, I just happened to have it. Anyway, I decided that as it's meant to be a funny, not too demanding point-and-click game with a supernatural twist, then it'd be worth checking out. Well, as soon as you start the game, you are met with your first film title pun, in the name of the first case, which is Malice in Wonderland. I won't spoil the others, and it's obvious what film, or book really, it's referencing. The comedy is deep into the core of the game, but I haven't really said much about what the game is. I did say it was a funny supernatural point-and-click game, and that was it. Basically, you are Detective Francis McQueen, and you work in the Darkside Division. You're accompanied for the most part by an officer called Patrick Dooley. The gameplay is in the typical fashion of point-and-click adventures, and like many, for example, Secret of Monkey Island, it also takes on the approach of being light-hearted and fun. You basically have to move from room to room or area to area, search for items that are usable in other areas or other rooms, which help you make progress in your case. Some items are simply used, like a key on a door. Others are combined to fashion another item, which are then used in a different way. The game is set up as 6 different cases, and each one you select on the menu is set as a case file. The stories are separate and don't really continue on from each other, though people you first meet in one case can appear in another. As I said, you are a detective in the Darkside Division. The cases you solve tend to involve what is known as the dark side. And the dark side is basically a darker version of the normal world, and I don't mean it's pitch black. People in the dark side are similar to a ghost, but they aren't ghosts, and you were told the difference in case 3. And there's odd versions of the people you've met in normal world or light world as the dark world. For example, Dooley is not the same silly Dooley in the dark side, and his last name is slightly different. Whoopsie! As I previously said, the comedy is deeply rooted into the game. Every screen where you talk to Dooley, he says something daft. The stories are clever while having charm and wit. It's got many nods and references you'll get a kick from for just getting them. The game is pretty easy overall, though I did have one big moment where I thought I'd clicked something and I actually hadn't, so spent 30 minutes walking around and then feeling like an idiot afterwards. It's a lovely looking game, and for me it's rather different to a lot of the pixel art games that I have personally played. The visuals are lovely and blocky while having a fair bit of detail. but at the same time it lacks a lot of detail, and it somehow just works. Like the people you speak to and McQueen himself, they have eyes, but no other facial features bar maybe some stubble or a beard. There's no mouths or noses. There's also a fair whack of variety to the locales in the game, as it's set in a city which happens to be called Twin Lakes. Sounds familiar, that? Anyway, you have buried buildings, a cemetery, various outside locations, and you get to the dark side versions of a few places too. I would say musically it's a little different to other stuff I've played too. Other games would have music for different levels or different sections, but this has more of a background track that is all about having the right kind of mood. If memory serves, for the first case there's like maybe one track, but it's not really something that will grate, and I think that's because it's so well suited to what's going on. It's there to help with the feeling of unease and intrigue. Again, it just really suits. Honestly, I'd happily recommend this game to anyone who likes a good laugh or simply to play a good game. So, the second game I'm going to talk about is The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening. This was amazing. Enough said. Okay, there's a fair bit to be said. For starters, it's the remade version of Link's Awakening on the Nintendo Switch that I played, not the original Game Boy version. Now, that isn't to say I haven't played the original or the colour versions, because I have. When this was first announced, there was a big divide between those who liked the look of it and those that didn't. Personally, I loved the look of it. I had this image of me playing with little Zelda toys and working my way around the game I set up on my bedroom floor. It put me in the frame of mind that I was playing with something. I know that's really bloody daft, but it did. I think it's a perfect fit for a handheld title, which is exactly what Link's Awakening was. Of course, the main reason people play a Zelda game is not for the visuals. While they do make up a big part of it, I don't think that's the main reason. The main reason, I believe, is the gameplay. And I think Link's Awakening stands true to the Zelda series having great gameplay. Now, this does have improvements to the controls, some quality of life improvements basically. In the Game Boy and the Color version, the shield would need to be equipped, as with the Pedz boots and several other items. That isn't the case anymore. In this, the boots are mapped to their own button, so is the shield, sword and bracelet. It means you haven't got to open and close the inventory as regularly to switch things about, and it makes the game flow much nicer because of it. The combat is pretty simple for the most part. When people attack you with a sword, you put up your shield and then attack. And repeat. Enemies with range, you either use the range item, something to stun them, or you close the gap and you chop them up. The puzzles throughout the game are good and varied. More so for what is essentially a smaller version of a Zelda game, even though it doesn't feel like it is smaller, because of the way you explore and work things out. The game also has some nice little trading quests, which gets you a handy reward at the end. I do believe that this was the first Legend of Zelda game that introduced the trade quest to the series, and has now become a staple of the Zelda series. I think around half the trading quest is actually needed to finish the game, but after that, you just crack on for a lovely reward. The dungeons are very well designed, and apart from the 7th, aren't overly confusing. I felt that that one in particular was a fair bit more tricky than the previous ones, and there's a wall that isn't visible that you need to interact with. To be fair, I think if you look at the map you can work it out. Also, in another wall it kind of hints that there might be something over the other side. So I do believe you can work it out, which I did, but it just took me a while. I just think the way it was designed is a little bit irritating because it's, again, not really visible. The bosses are well varied too, though the bosses are idiots as they basically tell you how you defeat them. It's more a very strong hint, which is handy for people who are less versed in Zelda. Obviously, I need to talk about the performance issues. The frame rate can get noticeably choppy at times. It happened to me a fair amount while entering and exiting buildings, when using the inventory and in the swamp, and then there were other times too. I know some are frustrated, but I personally found it to be a minor irritation that ultimately didn't affect my enjoyment of the game. It is a shame that there are these technical issues, and it is a blemish on a otherwise amazing remake. Well, I think I'm going on about the game a bit too long now. But basically, the game is a wonderful remake, and it is still a top tier Zelda. I know some ask, is it worth the asking price? And that's a hard question for me to answer. For me, I would say yes, absolutely. It's fairly short, probably taking around 15 hours for people less versed in the game. But it's an amazing 15 hours. I guess it really depends on what you value most out of the game, be it length or enjoyment, and that is going to come down to the individual. Come on, Link. Fucking. These fish really don't like me, man. We have a third game, and this game is Untitled Goose Game. Honk. It's something I've been seeing a lot of on the internet recently. It appears that this game has somehow resonated with many. Could it be the goose itself? I would think yes. There's something about this mischievous goose that terrorizes quaint idyllic village that just endears you to it. It's not just the goose though. It's also the terrorizing of the quaint idyllic village that somehow resonates with you too. I guess it's the fact that this little peaceful, happy looking town is so pristine, so perfect, that wandering about causing a little mischief feels, I don't know, right? It tugs at your inner child and says, hey, you want to be a little bit naughty? Well, let's go hide this guy's keys in a bush. It's not something that I think many games do. Well, not many games that I've played personally. You simply get lost in the game, and then you laugh at these silly little things you do that in all regards is just to annoy people, and yet you feel good about it. This game, from the moment you start, sets a high standard in its visuals. The style itself is just eye candy. It has wonderful, vibrant colours and an art direction that is bold with a high detailed environment. But fine details aren't there, like faces on people. It works with this for me, as I think it highlights, while there are people you are annoying, the focus is not on those, but the goose, the village, and all the things that are to be interacted with. The game oozes charm with its visuals, but the gameplay is nothing to sniff at either. You are tasked with specific objectives to make progress through the village, starting with simple things like get into the garden, which is a nice simple way to start and sets the precedent of what the game will be like going forward. After you get in there, you have things to do like get the groundskeeper wet, steal the groundskeeper's keys, and to make a picnic. This is where you need to get various items from the garden and put them on the picnic blanket. Afterwards, a new objective pops up, and when you do it, it opens the next area. It's gated off like this for several areas, and even though it's gated off and you follow objective, it feels organic in its progression. You'll come across several different people with several different objectives, and while you are doing similar things, the way you go about them does get changed up, and it never feels old or repetitive. It's pure, simple fun. Moving on to the music. What you have here is, for me, a game that uses the music to really convey what is happening. Like I regularly mention, certain games have an ambient music, but this isn't, to me, that. Not really, anyway. When I say there's no music, I mean no music in certain areas. It's just the goose and the pattering of his feet. When you are walking about and a person appears on the screen, you have this piano, which is light and bouncy, but in signs that you know you're up to no good. You then have the piano ramp up and get more frantic when a person spots you taking something and starts chasing you. And he ramps up and up until you are caught, leave out and go, or get yourself a lucky escape. It's not the only music. You get music in the game when getting to new areas. It fits. When you're walking around and there's no sound, it feels like this village, this perfect little village, is just at peace. No one has any problems. They don't have a care in the world. And you as this goose are seeing firsthand that everyone is enjoying that peace. Then, with the music, it really emphasizes how you get up to no good. How they don't trust this little goose wandering around, knowing it could do something. What? I don't think they know. But geese are known for being pains in the arse. And these townfolk are not sure if this goose is going to just flip out. That isn't what this goose is about though. He has a purpose, a goal. Then you get this bouncy, rapid, seemingly random piano keys playing ever so louder when the people realise that this goose is taking their things. and they give chase, and the piano becomes louder, more erratic, and then stops. You escaped. The feeling of tension, the feeling of I need this, but will they get me, passes. Then you start to feel at ease as you scope out the next character scene. Well, that's what I get from it. Again, I was asked about the price and longevity and if it's worth it. But again, I had to answer with the same as Link's Awakening. If you value length of the game over the fun, then maybe not. But for me personally, this was worth every penny from the sheer joy it gave me. So I have a fourth game this month. I've managed to play 4 games, and it is Super Mario Maker 2. I don't mean I've completed the entire online side of it, I just mean the single player.
You fucking son.
Basically, I was a massive fan of Super Mario Maker. I thought it was brilliant. It wasn't really down to Nintendo. Why though? Yes, they made the game and gave people the tools to create the levels, but ultimately it was the communities whose levels that I enjoyed. They were the levels that brought out a range of emotions. Though the range of emotions was either happy bliss to super mega rage, it did have some very cool level that you could just simply enjoy for being, you know, well-made platforming levels. Then you would have some nasty crap that someone with no soul made to make you hate everything. It was great, but with Super Mario Maker 2, Nintendo decided to put in a single player that was not just a brief 20-minute tutorial set of levels. Don't get me wrong, these levels also serve up as this is the kind of shit you can do, but the levels are longer, more fully fleshed out, and actually feel like a proper level, not some crap just knocked together. Well, I've rather enjoyed this. It's not very difficult for the most part, but there were a few times where I cocked up and had to use a continue, or I was told by Luigi to stop being shit. Visually, it's great to look at for the most part. I like the hub area, and while it's vibrant and colourful, it doesn't feel as dull and washed out as New Super Mario Bros. Series does, which is actually a theme in this game, and you do play a fair whack of the levels. You also have Super Mario Bros., Super Mario Bros. 3, and Super Mario World themes along with Super Mario 3D World, so there are a lot of styles and looks to the levels. The game controls great, like Mario games usually do, but I don't believe the physics are spot on to the original games. I assume it's like Super Mario Maker and uses New Super Mario Bros. As the base for the physics, though a Super Mario 3D World isn't interchangeable with the other themes. I think that uses different physics, but I could be wrong. It was fun going through the different themes and seeing the things you could and couldn't do. Even though I'm already familiar with Super Mario Maker and the games the themes are based around, certain things are only available in certain themes. For example, the raccoon leaf from Super Mario Bros. 3 and the wall jumping in New Super Mario Bros. 3D World also added the cat with the bell item. They have added more to this though. In Super Mario Maker, you had the airship, the regular overworld, underground, castle theme, the ghost house, and underwater. Some of those weren't in other games. An example would be the ghost house being in Super Mario Bros. World, but not in Super Mario Bros. 3. But Nintendo made a theme, the ghost house, in those styles. In this, they've added nighttime level. If you add nighttime, which is the moon, you get night versions of the levels. In this, you have the themes act differently, not only become nighttime. One sees the world flipping upside down, another reduces the gravity, and there's more. It's definitely worth playing through the campaign before delving into online. where you'll get most of your playtime. When it comes to the music, it has the music present that was in the original levels and games. Super Mario Bros. Has the iconic do-do-do-do-do-do music, and new Super Mario Bros. Has the rubbish ba-ba music. Again, they've added new music to the game for the night themes. One theme has ice. So for the Super Mario Overworld, well, it has a very different wintry, kind of almost Christmassy sound to the track that obviously you don't get with the traditional Overworld theme. I think the music is up to the usual high standards of Nintendo. You can also get a few tracks from different games with a certain trigger, which you'll see that trigger in the level maker. But in the campaign, you'll just be jumping about in a low gravity level, and then music from Mario Galaxy will start playing. All the sound effects from the various games are present too. I've not really delved into the online, but I have really enjoyed my time with this. It's something I'd recommend to anyone, as you'd get some really well made stuff from Nintendo, and you get a diverse range of things from the online. And while there's a lot of trolly crap online, there's also plenty of wonderful levels. It's worth remembering that you can skip the levels that you dislike and just try to have some fun. And don't forget, you can make things yourself. Oh, okay. Fuck. Didn't notice it would do that. My last life. Oh well. Silly me. Anyway, I think that is going to be me wrapping this video up. I hope you enjoyed the wonderful, wonderful games I've talked about. As you can see, I've enjoyed them. I haven't really not enjoyed a game since Sonic Boom, I think. Which is surprising that I've actually enjoyed every game I'm playing. I'm hoping now through October to do Deadly Premonition and Hollow Knight. Yakuza is on the back burner because I started Hollow Knight and Yakuza at the same time. I was just one day, one evening, and it turned out that it was just leaving me no time for any other games, if that makes sense. They're just so involved. So my plan is to just crack on with Hollow Knight and Deadly Premonition in the evenings. And then we'll get back to Yakuza 0, but I'm also planning on getting back to another Sonic game because the plan was to do a Sonic game a month, preferably the bad ones, and I may do Sonic Heroes, which I actually didn't mind when I played it back in the day, or I may do Shadow the Shadow the Hedgehog. I call him Shadow the Badger, I don't know why. Anyway, enough rambling, bye bye. Thank you so much for watching this video, and don't forget to check me out on Twitch TV. Asshole. Ah! Ah! I was trying to heal you, fucker. Ah! I wasn't trying to throw it. The kid, what are you on about? Stop lying, Grom. If it isn't the yard, Cumbers. Hold on! Why'd you rush us down here? Aye, I was having a nap. There's a plot afoot. You guys and I are gonna sort it. Ugh. Okay, let's get this done quick. Make haste upstairs, for I have a haggis cooking. Have you got any mayonnaise? You two are silly. Retrieved haggis. I didn't get to be a Megazord. I'm disappointed. I'm not complaining. He's dead. Ding dong, the dick is dead.